Hello, thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to my channels. They can be found on YouTube and brand new Tube. Also, please like, share and comment, as it would be great to hear your views. From my point of view, we are living in an age of disproportionate fear. In my last video, I talked about the fear being pushed by Sir Patrick Vallance. You know, the guy who obviously has the same mathematical knowledge as Neil Ferguson or Diane Abbott. I also mentioned that Vallance had shares in GSK, £650,000 worth of shares in fact. So in my opinion, it was just project fair and a sales pitch for the vaccine. And not for the first time over the past 7 months, this one was quite easy to see through. With the conflict of interest, he shouldn't even be the UK's Chief Scientific Officer. This thought was also shared the other day in Parliament by MP for New Forest West, Desmond Swayne. Take a look.
The purpose of politicians is to impose a measure of proportion, a sense of proportion on science, and not to be enthralled to it. Now, I will make myself very unpopular, but I believe that the appearance of the chiefs last week should have been a sacking offence. When they presented that graph, with the caveat that it wasn't a prediction, but nevertheless, it was clear that they presented it as a plausible scenario, with its 50,000 cases per day by mid-October, based on the doubling of infections by the week. Not once, not on one day since March, have there been infections on that day that were double that of the day of the week preceding. Not once. Where did this doubling come from? What was their purpose in presenting such a graph? It was the purpose of the fat boy in Pickwick Papers. I wants to make your flesh creep. It was Project Fear. It was an attempt to terrify the British people as if they haven't been terrified enough. Now, I've been banging on about this since March, and every criticism I've made, I've been told that the government was relying on the best possible science. So I am delighted by the letter 1 week ago today, the nuanced criticism of Professors Hennigan, Gupta and Sikora. And I believe that it is now the government that has to answer that criticism. I'm glad that the consensus in the scientific community is broken and the critics are speaking out.
As you can see, he did not mention the conflict of interest. What he did mention was the doctors that are speaking out against the narrative being pushed. A version of this letter was published by The Spectator magazine under the title, "Boris must urgently rethink his COVID strategy." It criticised the current strategy of the suppression of the virus until such time that a vaccine can be deployed, as increasingly unfeasible. The strategy it claimed to be leading to significant harm across all age groups, which likely offsets any benefits. So naturally, someone in favour of the narrative has to come out and speak up and defend it. Professor Stephen Griffin of Leeds University School of Medicine, who is also chair-elect of the UK Microbiology Society's Virus Division, said the letter amounted to little more than a thinly veiled return to herd immunity strategy, and the human cost for this has not changed since spring, nor is it likely to. One only has to look across the countries like the US, Brazil and India to see the reality. Okay, let's look at these realities and look into the percentage of these countries' death rate per 1 million citizens. As stats from Wikipedia at time of making this video. Brazil, 712 divided by 1 million, times by 100, 0.07% chance of death per million in Brazil. India, 82 divided by 1 million, times by 100, a 0.008% chance of death per million in India. USA, 643 divided by 1 million times by 100, 0.06% chance of death per million in the USA. Griffin pointed out that whilst certainly not the majority, we know that younger and otherwise healthy individuals can sadly succumb to the virus. Plus, it is becoming increasingly clear that the long-term effects, even with patients with relatively mild COVID-19, represent a significant clinical concern going forwards. So as you can see, Griffin is the spokesman for Project Fear and the narrative. When I read this, I got curious about Griffin, so by following money, and money is the root of all evil, the UK Microbiology Society's Virus Division, who Professor Stephen Griffin is chair-elect of, is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The same guy who is holding the planet to ransom unless we take his vaccine.
Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
The same guy who refuses to vaccinate his own children, but can make big bucks potentially selling unlicensed vaccines to the rest of us plebs. How can anyone not see that this is a sales pitch for a vaccine? The people pushing this vaccine are currently taking our liberties and wrecking the lives of our children. Still, many of you buy into the fear being pushed. Just for anyone still believing any of the fear being promoted in the UK. 654 divided by 1 million, times by 100, 0.06% chance of death per million in the UK. What about worldwide per million? 134 divided by 1 million, times by 100, 0.01% chance of death per million citizens in the world. So that's the reality. This is why our liberties and our rights to express our opinions are being removed. This is the reason the whole world's population has to live under draconian measures. Reality check. This is a sales pitch. Wake up!